paradrama tales.
You're not exactly a priority. Right now. My mom texted as I sat alone at the restaurant, a table set for 5 untouched. The waiter kept refilling my water like it would drown the truth. But in that moment, I finally saw it. I was never really invited to belong. I knew something was off the moment the waiter asked if I'd still be needing a table for 5. I smiled, said yes, even though deep down, I already knew the answer. It was supposed to be a celebration, my celebration. After nearly a decade at the same mid-sized firm, countless weekends sacrificed, birthdays missed, and holidays worked through, I'd finally been promoted to senior project director. It wasn't just a title. It was every hour I gave up, every friend I drifted from, every quiet night when I convinced myself it would all be worth it someday. And this was the day. So I picked the restaurant carefully, made the reservation. I even requested the corner booth with the best view somewhere special. I wanted to honor the people who said they believed in me: my mom, my brother Jordan, my cousin Michelle, Uncle Ray, the short list. The ones who called me the glue, who cried last Christmas when I bought Mom a car, who told me I kept the family together after Dad passed. But they didn't show. I ordered a drink I didn't want just to look like I had a reason to be there. Every time the door opened, I glanced up too fast. The minutes dragged, then an hour, then 2. Still no texts, no calls. I finally told the waiter to bring the entrees. I was too proud to leave, too heartbroken to pretend it didn't matter. And then my phone buzzed. A photo. My entire family, my mom, Jordan, Michelle, Uncle Ray, gathered around a beachside dinner table. Glasses raised, smiles wide. Jordan stood front and center, flashing a car key in one hand and posing next to a brand new jet ski. The caption read, "He earned this. So proud of you, bro." There was no mention of me. Just a picture-perfect evening for the real success story. That's when I saw it. A message from my mom sent an hour earlier. "You're not exactly a priority right now. We'll catch up soon. Enjoy your dinner." I stared at the text, my hands frozen, and for the first time, I didn't feel forgotten. I felt erased. That night wasn't just a missed dinner, it was a reveal, a spotlight on the empty chair where love should have been. After that night, I couldn't sleep. I just lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, watching years of sacrifice rewind in my head like an old film no one else remembered. But I did. I remembered everything, every time I stepped in, just until things stabilized. Every emergency loan, every covered utility, every time Mom whispered, "We'll make it up to you," and somehow never did. 3 years ago, when the mortgage was about to lapse after Dad died, I quietly stepped in, set up an auto payment from my salary, $130 every month, never missed one. I told myself it was temporary, just a bridge. But months turned into years. The bridge became a road, and I was the only one paving it. Mom never asked how it affected me. She just thanked me vaguely around the holidays, like I was her safety net and not her son. Jordan, he never even said thank you. He was too busy figuring himself out, his words. Not mine. Flunked out of 2 colleges, wrecked his car, tried 3 different startups that all ended in unpaid debts and blocked numbers. But he was the dreamer, the one with potential. Me, I was the boring one, the reliable one, the invisible investor behind their lives. I remembered every time Michelle needed rent money just for this month, and how that month somehow showed up on my Venmo history 5 more times. I remembered when Mom's car broke down and she cried over the phone, so I bought her one. A decent used Camry, paid in full. No one else chipped in. No one offered. I didn't mind, not at first. I told myself, family helps each other. That's what love looks like, right? Sacrifice. But love is supposed to go both ways. When I looked at my bank records, the numbers didn't lie. Over $65,000 spent on them in 5 years. Quietly, consistently, unconditionally. I never asked for repayment. I never held it over their heads. But I thought, maybe that meant they'd see me, that they'd care. Instead, they toasted to my brother's jet ski and left me alone with the bill and the silence. And that's when I realized I wasn't family. I was a walking checkbook with a smile. It wasn't the photo of their dinner that broke me. Not even the caption under Jordan's grinning face holding a key fob like he'd just won the lottery. It was the message that followed 8 words that detonated something inside me. "You're not exactly a priority right now." That came from my mother, the woman I called every week who I moved mountains for when Dad died. The woman who cried on my shoulder when the bills stacked up, who used to say, "Eric, you're the only reason this family hasn't fallen apart." And now, just like that, I was nothing but an afterthought, a ghost they remembered only when the power bill was due. I stared at those words as my steak went cold in front of me. I'd taken one bite. I couldn't taste anything. My hands were numb. I paid the Wallace $940 bill, left a 25% tip, because the staff had been kind even if they were clearly trying not to stare at the guy sitting alone at a table meant for 5. Then I drove home in silence, the text still glowing on my screen like it wanted to be read again. I didn't delete it, not yet. I wanted to remember the moment my rose-colored glasses shattered completely. At home, I didn't turn on the lights. I sat at the edge of my bed, scrolling through years of messages. Every "can you spot me" until Friday. Every "just one more time, I swear." Every emoji-filled thank you that faded into silence as soon as I clicked send. They hadn't forgotten me. They had excluded me on purpose. They built an entire evening around celebrating Jordan and his jet ski, while pretending I didn't exist. And when I didn't disappear quietly, they sent that text. A sentence so casual, so practiced, it felt like they'd been waiting for an excuse to finally say it. Like they'd rehearsed it. "You're not exactly a priority," not "we're sorry," not "we messed up," just dismissed. And for the first time in my life, I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I didn't beg for an explanation. I made a decision, because if I was never their priority, then they were no longer mine. That night, something in me snapped, not with rage, not even sadness. It was more like a thread finally giving way after being stretched too thin for too long. I walked into my home office past the photos I'd bought, the couch I'd paid for, the light bulbs I always remembered to replace, and opened my laptop. My hands moved on their own, steady and calm, like they already knew what needed to be done. I logged into the shared mortgage account, a 1-830s due on the 10th. Autopay set up from my checking account. It had been that way since the week after Dad died 3 years ago. I remember Mom sobbing, terrified of losing the house. Just until I figured things out, she'd said. I figured things out for her, every month, quietly. Now, all I saw was a drain I was no longer willing to drown in. I opened a new tab, found the bank's contact, canceled the auto deduction. Just like that. No calls, no warnings, no family meeting. Then I grabbed a sticky note, scribbled 5 words in all caps. "Let him pay it now." I drove to the house I hadn't stepped foot in since Easter, walked up to the door, and stuck the note right above the handle. No knock. No goodbye. Just truth. I got back in my car and turned my phone to silent. When I got home, I didn't brush my teeth or change out of my clothes. I lay on top of my sheets, arms folded across my chest, heartbeat pounding like a war drum. And for the first time in years, I slept like a rock. By morning, I had 81 missed calls. My phone looked like a small town during a blackout, alerts lighting up every inch of the screen. Mom, Jordan, Michelle, Uncle Ray. Most were voicemails I didn't listen to, texts I didn't open, but one stuck out. A voicemail from my mom. Her voice was frantic, sharp, clipped nothing like the warm lullabies I remembered. "Eric, what did you do?" The mortgage bounced. I got a call from the bank. "Why would you do this without telling us Jordan's finally doing well and you're being spiteful. This is not how family behaves." I replayed that line 3 times. Then I smiled, because for once I agreed. The voicemails came in waves, each one its own carefully scripted performance. I didn't listen at first. I just watched the icons stack up like pressure in a boiling pot. But eventually, curiosity cracked the silence. I pressed play. The first was Mom. Her voice didn't tremble from heartbreak. It cracked from control slipping through her fingers. "Eric, what did you do?" she snapped. "The mortgage didn't go through. The bank called. Jordan's finally getting on his feet, and now you're being spiteful." Then a sudden shift, like she remembered she was supposed to be the victim. This is not how family behaves," she whispered tearfully. I sat there gripping the edge of the nightstand, knuckles white. Not how family behaves. No apology, no ownership, just panic and blame, dressed in a shaky voice. Then came Jordan's message. "Bro, this is messed up," he said, like I had just keyed his car for fun. "We were gonna handle it all right. You didn't have to pull the plug like that. Now mom's freaking out. Are you trying to make us lose the house?" I didn't laugh, but I felt it rise like a dry cough in my chest. 3 years of payments, and now I was being scolded like a reckless teenager. Michelle chimed in next. "No filter, no pretense. So, you're punishing the whole family over a dinner. Grow up, you always act like you're the martyr, like you're the only one who does anything. Newsflash, Jordan's been hustling too. Just because we celebrated him doesn't mean we don't appreciate you. But you blew it again." There it was. The real message under all the fake concern. How dare you stop being useful? That was the tone that cut the deepest. Not rage, not sorrow, inconvenience. Like I'd broken their favorite tool, and now they'd have to figure out how to hammer nails without me. I sat in my dark apartment not answering a single one. I just stared at the wall, letting their words echo, not because they hurt, but because they finally confirmed what I'd tried to ignore for years. They didn't love me. They loved what I gave them. The moment that supply dried up, so did the illusion of closeness, and I realized this was how family behaves when they never really saw you as family to begin with. The knock on my door came on the third day, loud, sharp, impatient. I didn't need a peephole to guess who it was, but I looked anyway. Michelle, arms crossed, eyes blazing, standing like she had a right to be there. When I opened the door, she walked in without asking. No hi, no can we talk. Just stormed in like it was still 2019, and I was still the brother who would Venmo her rent before she even asked. "We need to talk," she snapped. I stayed by the door. "About what?" This little tantrum, she said. "You're hurting Mom." I blinked. "Hurting her," I echoed. She texted me that I wasn't a priority while celebrating Jordan's new jet ski. "I think the damage was mutual. He's doing something for himself," Michelle shot back. "That's not a crime." "No," I said, but pretending that's a grand achievement while dismissing everything I've done for this family. "That's the problem," she rolled her eyes. "God, you're so dramatic. You act like you're the only one who's ever worked hard." "No," I replied steady. "But I am the only one who's been paying that mortgage for 3 years while being told to stay quiet and be grateful for a place at the table." Silence. She stood there expecting me to cave, to offer a check, to be the glue again. Instead, I said, "They're not my family anymore." Her expression cracked confusion, denial, fury all at once. "They raised you." "No," I said. "They used me." It landed. I could see it. She didn't argue. She didn't slam the door when she left. Just walked out slowly as if realizing something too late. That was the moment I cut the lifeline. No more payments, no more explaining, no more performing the role of good son in a family that only clapped when it cost me. It's strange, that kind of silence after the yelling stops. After the guilt has nothing left to grip. I sat on my balcony that night, watching people walk their dogs, sipping coffee I didn't rush through. For the first time, I wasn't worried about who needed what from me. Because being related doesn't mean you're respected. Sometimes they're not family. They're just familiar people who never learned to see you as a person, only as a resource. And when you stop being useful, they finally show you who they really are. It was the 7th day of silence when they showed up. Not a phone call, not a quiet message asking to talk. No, they brought the whole circus to my front door. My mom, Jordan, and parked in front of my building like a monument to stupidity. The jet ski. I watched through the peephole. Jordan paced like a caged animal, clutching a folded piece of paper I guessed was some overdue bank notice. Mom stood a few feet back, looking at my door like it might bite her. "Eric, sweetheart, please just let us explain." She called out, her voice pitched high with performative regret. But I didn't open the door, because this wasn't about me, not really. This was about panic, about them realizing the safety net they'd taken for granted had actually walked away. It wasn't a peace offering they brought. It was a problem on a trailer. I watched as Jordan muttered something, threw his arms in the air, and kicked the curb. He wasn't here to apologize. He was here to undo the consequences. That shiny jet ski, $9,000 of finally doing something for himself, was now an anchor, and they wanted me to tow it. Eventually they left. No dramatic ending, just the rumble of tires and Mom's teary sigh fading into the distance. But the silence afterward, it felt sacred, like fresh air after years of holding your breath. And that night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I looked at my paycheck and smiled. No massive deduction, no hidden bills, just money I earned and finally kept. I didn't buy a jet ski, I bought peace. But peace doesn't come without grief. You don't walk away from family without a bruise, even when they've bruised you first. Still, I knew this wasn't about punishing them. It was about finally protecting me. So, when they came knocking again this time, with panic in their voices and desperation on their faces, I didn't open the door, because I already knew what they'd say. They'd say it was a mistake. They'd say they love me. They'd ask how I could do this to my own family. And I'd sit in silence, coffee in hand, watching the trailer out front and thinking, if love had to be bought, they'd already spent it all. It happened on a Thursday mid-meeting, mid-slide presentation, mid-sentence. My phone buzzed with a message from the receptionist. There's a man here asking for you, says it's urgent. Jordan. My heart dropped not out of fear, but frustration. Of course he'd show up here, my workplace, the one place I hadn't let their drama touch. I stepped out, straightened my shirt, and headed to the lobby. There he was, slouched in a chair like a teenager waiting for detention, to end sunglasses on indoors like he was hiding from the truth. When he saw me, he stood too quickly. We need to talk, he said. We're talking, I replied, already walking him outside. We stood under a tree near the parking lot, the summer heat thick between us. He didn't bother with small talk. We lost the house, he said, staring at the ground. I didn't say anything. What was there to say? They gave Mom 30 days. Michelle's trying to help, but she's got her own stuff. Uncle Ray's pissed. I nodded once. Jordan looked up, squinting. Why'd you do it, man? You had your little promotion? You were doing fine. You mean financially? I asked. He shrugged. Yeah, you've got the stable job. And that meant I had to carry everyone else. He blinked, not because he didn't understand, but because for the first time he did. I bought that jet ski to do something for me. He said, quieter now. Just once. And I stopped paying the mortgage. I replied, to do something for me too. He stared at me like a kid realizing the arcade's closed. So that's it. You're out. Not out, I said. Free. He scoffed. You think you're better than us? No, I said, calm. Just better without you. That landed like a slap. But he didn't argue, didn't explode. He just stood there, rocked on his heels, and finally said, Mom's staying with Michelle. I'll probably crash at Uncle Ray's. Good, I said. He looked at me one more time, not angry, just lost. Then he walked to his car, got in and drove off. I stood there for a minute under that tree, breathing in the quiet like it was oxygen. Because for the first time, their chaos wasn't mine to clean up. I used to think peace was something you earned by giving more, by holding on, by being the one who always picks up the pieces. But I was wrong. Sometimes peace begins the moment you say no more. No more dinners where you're forgotten. No more loans disguised as love. No more waiting to be seen by people who only look your way when they're in need. After Jordan left my office that day, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clear. Like the fog had finally lifted after years of pretending their version of family was normal. The next weekend I moved to a new apartment. Just me, no shared accounts, no backup bills. I bought a new desk I'd been eyeing for months. Booked a solo trip to the mountains. I even got a new phone number. And that group chat, the one that used to light up every time they needed something, I deleted it. But I kept one message from Uncle Ray. It read, You were never the weak one. You were just too generous. That I held on to, because sometimes it takes losing everything you gave away to finally realize what you deserve to keep. And if you've ever felt like the background character in your own story, maybe this is your sign. You don't need their permission to stop being used. You just need your own. Stick around. Because the next story, it's about building something new, something real. And this time, it starts with you.